Well, there are 23 days left until the general election, and political campaigners are out in force in constituencies which have very small majorities, known as marginal seats. We're going to be taking a closer look at some of these during the election period. Today we head to North London, and my colleague Jane Hill is in Hampstead, and the Hampstead and Kilburn seat, the closest marginal in England at the last election. Let's go to Jane now, who's on Hampstead Heath. Jane.
It was indeed, Simon. Thank you very much. A three-way marginal. Glenda Jackson held on to this seat for Labour at the last general election by just 42 votes. If we take a look at the full breakdown, you can see from these figures here just how very close indeed it was. In fact, the actual votes were so close that if you round them up to percentages, it actually looks like a tie, doesn't it? Labour and the Conservatives both on 33%. The Lib Dems not that far behind on 31%. Smaller parties in this constituency of Hampstead and Kilburn only picking up a very small amount of support. Before we talk to my guest, let's just take a look, for what it's worth, at the most recent Ashcroft opinion poll for this borough as well. Now, I should say that this is from last summer, so it is a few months ago, but it did appear then to suggest that Liberal Democrat support had drained away. An awful lot of Lib Dem voters, certainly at the point of this poll, said that they were going to Labour. Support for the Green Party and for UKIP also showing a slight increase as well. As I say, that is a few months old, but quite interesting as a snapshot nonetheless. Let's talk about the picture of this area as a whole and why it is such a fascinating seat to watch. Richard Osley is with me, who is the Deputy Editor of the Camden New Journal and blogs a lot on general North London politics. Hello, good afternoon to you, Richard. And this really is a seat of contrasts, isn't it? But that poll, a few months old though it is interesting. I'm kind of assuming, you tell me, whether the other two big parties are really keen to see where those Lib Dem voters are going.
Well, yeah, I think in 2010 it was 42 votes and it was very close, but things have changed since then, and the recent polling has shown Lib Dem support sliding in this area. If you look at all of the local election results, the City Hall election results in this part of London, and the Lib Dem voters dropped. I mean, they built up support in this part of London over many years. They got to be the lead party on the council, but since 2010 they've gone down like that, and they only have one person left on the council. And there'll be a battle, I suppose, to see who's going to pick up those 16,500 votes that were in Hampstead and Kilburn last time. And
here, standing on Hampstead Heath, we're in the more prosperous part of the constituency, the east of the constituency. We know what the big issue there is. It's Labour and the mansion tax. The mansion tax,
yeah. I mean, if there's any issue that has brought Labour and Conservatives closer together in this contest, it's the mansion tax. Maybe there's 2,500 homes that might be affected, but what you've got to remember is a lot of people have got homes just under that level, just a kind of maybe 1.5 million around there, and they're thinking of what's going to happen the way house prices have gone in London, and they'll soon will fall into that £2 million bracket. So that's why the issue is not just a couple of thousand homes here. It's probably the issue that's kind of divided thought the most.
And give us a flavour of the constituents, because there's I'm so sorry, the candidates, I mean, because Labour, for example, I mean, they're putting in someone who is talked about as a high flyer. I mean, there's some very interesting characters here, aren't there?
Yeah, well, I think kind of Hampstead and Kilburn expects a character after having Glenda Jackson for a couple of decades. You know, they've had a high-profile person, a double Oscar winner. There's been a criticism that she hasn't been seen as much around the constituency the last couple of times. Now they've got Tulip Sadiq, who, like you say, is a bit of a high flyer within the party. The Sunday Times said she's a future PM, a figure close to Miliband, said that she's a figure, she's a Prime Minister in waiting. I think there's a bit of a kind of reservation about that. We'll never know, we'll see on that. Then we've got the councillor for a former councillor, Conservative Simon Marcus here, standing for them, and then we've got Majid Nawaz, who most people have seen on your programmes before, where he's a kind of former Islamist radical whose story of redemption is what he's selling on the doorstep for Lib Dems. But yeah, it's a lively old show.
It's a fascinating one on May the 7th, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's a good constituency to cover. We're happy to have it here, so definitely.
All right, thanks very much, Richard Osley, from the Deputy Editor of the Camden New Journal. Let's just show you the list of all the candidates who are standing here in Hampstead and Kilburn. And we'll be talking for the rest of the day and getting reaction to some of the constituents, some of the proposals in the manifesto. That's the word I'm looking for, proposals in the manifestos. We'll get more reaction to all of those from all the parties over the course of the day and the evening. For now, here in North London, back to you, Simon.
It's horrible when that happens, when you've got a word on the tip of your tongue and it never quite appears, isn't it?
And it's often the word constituency, and it's just, we're all saying it too much at the moment.
You're not wrong.
I'll
Anyway.
blame the sun going to my head, Simon.
Oh, that'll make us all feel better. Thanks for that, Jane. It's chilly in here. Well, let's stay with the election. The Lib Dems are going to be talking about their housing policy. Housing, of course, crucial in that manifesto launched from the Tories this morning. Let's go to Arif Ansari, who joins me now from the Lib Dems battle bus on the